Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yearbook News. I'm here with Sarah, and Lucy is guest starring again. She'll be with us the rest of the month. So we're going to continue this series of showcasing our instructional guides and kind of just informing on the beginning of the school year / just school year plans. So this week, we're going to be focusing on mission / vision statement, as well as, what are the things that we need to know for that first week of school. So before we go ahead and get started with that, I do want to hand it over to Sarah because she has some more exciting news to share with everyone about what we've been doing here at United Yearbook.
Hello, everyone. Welcome July, and it is crazy. We are already in the second week of July when a lot of student and teacher, advisor enjoy their summer vacation. All of us at United Yearbook will continue to get busy because we want to make sure we have all the materials and a lesson plan ready when everyone returns back from your summer break. So this past week, we updated a few things on our website, in particularly our resource page, and also our online store, where advisors, new or veteran, who sign with us or whatnot, they now have the option to purchase a material based on the needs. For example, we have broken down our materials by the categories and also by particular need. For example, we have a filter feature that teacher, advisor, or admin can purchase the material based on like curriculum during the orientation week. And also instructional guide. If the admin only want the instructional guide, they can filter by instructional guide. And then also presentation by topic. Instead of purchasing the entire module, they have the option now to purchase one because every advisor, they have different experience. The need is different. So we want to make it easy and affordable for our yearbook community to purchase what you need. And also one thing that we love to share with our advisors is the gift card. So at the beginning of the school year and also towards the deadline and also during the Christmas break, we also have extra perks for advisors. They can use it, for example, back to school, they can use the gift card to purchase back to school supplies or Starbucks gift card or snack, for the yearbook staff or just for themselves. During Christmas, we have Christmas perk. Again, just like something that we want to express appreciation to advisor who work so hard throughout the school year. So we want to have that, holiday special perk for them. And also right around the deadline, we also have the wellness gift package. So now the advisor can choose to go to our store to pick up the gift, the perk that fit their needs. So that's my update. That's what I been working on, and I'm just super excited we're able to offer this to advisors around the world. So I'm going to give the floor back to Jessica.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, this is such an exciting update, and I'll go ahead and leave a link down below so you guys can check out all of these exciting things yourself. Once again, we're just so excited to be able to offer this helpful tool to all our advisors out there. So check it out. Yeah, thank you once again, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we can dive right into our topic for this week. So one of the first things I want to go over with you, Lucy, is mission / vision statement. So when you hear that, maybe it's something that some advisors are really used to, something that they do often, and maybe there's some advisors that they don't typically do that. So would you be able to kind of go over what the importance of the mission / vision statement is, as well as why that's something you feel that needs to be done during that first week of school?
Well, as we talked about last week, there has to be, we have to capitalize on a commitment on the part of kids. And so understanding what the yearbook is and who the yearbook is for and what the work of the yearbook staff will be in order to make the yearbook real requires a level of commitment that may not be something that some of the kids in that class will have experienced in any other class that they have taken in high school. The idea of producing a real tangible object that people will purchase and that will remain in the lives of those people who purchase it is really a stunning kind of reality. So the idea behind a mission statement and a vision statement not only is a way that businesses work, and the long and short of it is that the yearbook staff is, for all intents and purposes, a business on campus. It requires that everybody is on the same page. And so crafting that commitment, that level of commitment into a mission, how they are going to view the actual yearbook and their part in creating the yearbook and for whom the yearbook is created, and then the vision, how they'll get that mission accomplished. Okay, two different and distinctly separate ideas is something that I think brings everybody, coalesces everybody around the idea of the work. And that begins at the very beginning of the year and is revisited time and time again all through the year, making sure that they are on track, keeping in mind their mission, keeping in mind their vision all the way through the year until the last part of the work is done, and that's the distribution of the yearbook and watching the faces of everybody as they open up their book and get people to sign it. Okay. So for me, the idea of a mission statement and a vision in order to execute that mission is imperative. And it's not something that I, as the teacher, did. It is something that the kids have to sort through and develop. And once it is done, it needs to have a place of prominence in the classroom. It needs to have a place where you can refer to it. Are we on mission? What part of the vision does this activity represent? What part of the mission are we focused on right now in this activity? So it becomes not only a milestone marker, but it also is a teaching prop that you can help kids learn to keep themselves focused. So I would say that a mission statement and a vision statement are essential. Not everybody has that same kind of idea, but I would say that planning your work with the end in mind is huge. So if the mission is to create a certain kind of yearbook, and the vision is your action plan to get to that certain kind of yearbook, then everything you do throughout the year activates that mission and that vision.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think, at the beginning, you're talking about how a lot of businesses do this, and then you related that to the yearbook. And in a sense, I also feel like this is kind of showing students what they have to expect later on down in life, as well as kind of preparing them for like, how can you follow your own mission / vision statement? That also makes me think of that. But it also, I feel like it's very like guideline oriented. Like these are the rules that we are kind of set for ourselves. And I love how you said this is like student led, because ultimately, like you've mentioned in the last podcast and we've talked about throughout all of our episodes of this podcast, is that this is, for the students. This is run by the students. And so having them create that mission and vision statement makes a difference, and it's also something that will be more true to their hearts and their goals for the yearbook, because they're the ones who have created it and who have, talked about it and organized it together, right? And so did you ever feel like while working on this mission and vision statement, that maybe students had a hard time agreeing on a mission and vision statement, where, how were you able to kind of help guide them? Because obviously you're not going to sit there and do it for them, but maybe there's some guidance that you had to help get them organized in creating that statement.
Well, when there's an impasse and I found it rare to be in an impasse about a mission around a yearbook and the kind of yearbook that they wanted to create. I found that very rare. But the mission statement and the vision statement are the foundational steps to shared decision making. And when I say shared decision making, I mean that the advisor and the staff come together and they make their decisions along the way. And so when you create a culture around everybody having a voice and everybody being able to see their input matters, if you get to a moment where there is an impasse, you would probably practice some strategies that would, one, provide a way to create a space so that there is not a personalization, so that you can gain an indifference to the outcome, perhaps. And when I say indifference, I'm not talking about not caring about it. I'm talking about depersonalizing it. Is this about you, or is it about the end result? So you have to help kids walk that path, because they're new to that. I mean, there are a lot of adults that have trouble with depersonalizing situations. And so you might want to do a bit of research into the best plans, best practices for de-escalation or to depersonalize the situations. So one of the things that I did with my students and everybody, teachers, we have a lot of resources at our fingertips, and we're all highly individual. I personally enjoyed the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel, and I really appreciated the idea that you have to be able to not take things personal, and then you have to be as what was there? I should look it up for you right now. You have to be as good as you can be with your words. You have to be able to make the distinction of if I'm entering into this conflict and I know it's a conflict, then I have to be very good about my use of words. And so we practiced the 4 Agreements. They were posted in our classroom, and respect was the underlying idea behind the use of those 4 Agreements in our classroom. Were we perfect? No. But did we really try to de-escalate before things got out of hand? You bet we did. And did we try to make sure that people understood that we respected their point of view? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Even if their point of view was not the final outcome, they had at least the opportunity to make a case for themselves. So it's important to listen with intention. And again, it was rare in the creation of the mission statement and the vision statement to come to those loggerheads, but that doesn't mean that that did not happen along the way with shared decision making. And because once you become personally invested in the making of something so distinctly original and valuable as a yearbook to a school community, you can't help but B, that's your baby and you want it to be successful. And so you just really have to continuously help kids create a distance. Okay, is this about you? Is it about the work? What is it about? Let's take a breath. Let's take a beat. So.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you think a yearbook advisor should have a different set of mission and vision statement for every year's yearbook class? Because the student dynamic, the grade level, the experience may be different.
Well, by its intention that the students are making the mission statement and the vision statement, for me, it is different every year. It was different every year.
That's great.
Could kids see previous years' mission and vision statements? Sure. So they could get an idea of how other years handled the idea of the mission and vision statement? Yes. Did that influence them? Sometimes. The kids have a level of trust with other kids. So especially if they enjoyed the previous year's yearbook and they really liked the end result, the product, then they paid attention to how that yearbook team worked together.
Yeah, I have another follow-up question. Earlier you mentioned about depersonalized. Can you give one or two examples how a yearbook staff or how an advisor can walk students through that process?
Okay, so I had a student who made a decision to do a different sport in the spring. She was a senior and she had done cheerleading all year, all 4 years. And so in order to do soccer, she had to give up her spring semester senior year cheerleading. Now that affected her within the page spread of the yearbook for cheerleading. She was not provided a senior spotlight because that was reserved for those seniors who finished all 4 years of cheerleading. And that quickly developed into a situation in the classroom. So what I did with the student who created the spread and the student whose feelings were hurt, I talked to them individually. And as I listened to them and I helped one student, the designer of the page, I helped her understand that it was not personal, that the student was having difficulty with the reality that was being presented to her. And the other student, I helped her understand that she had fair feelings about what seemed to be unjust to her, but was the right avenue of pursuing what she felt was unjust, was the right avenue, taking it up with the designer of the page, or was there a different avenue through the athletic department that she needed to search out? And so then the 3 of us talked together so that everything was smooth. And the young lady who was in charge of the design was able to create a subset for seniors who had dropped out because she was not alone. There were 2 other kids. And then the senior who was felt unjustly identified, she went through a process with the athletic director, and I encouraged her to do that because that seemed to me a much more productive use of her feelings and her desire to seek justice, not only for her, but for everybody else that was affected. And so it took a little time, but you really have to kind of isolate what's important and what's happening with the kids, and you really have to listen. You really have to listen and be open to all kinds of solutions.
Yeah, it's really good. And I feel like what I mentioned earlier about how it really does prepare you for life outside of high school. These are types of skills, these are the types of like problem solving and like conflict resolution skills that could make a really big difference, when they're faced with different issues later on down in life. And so, yeah, they're learning those things during yearbook, and hopefully taking those lessons into different parts of their lives,
Yes.
whether that be in college, whatever they do, and beyond, because those are things that you deal with for the rest of your life, right? So yeah, I think that's really positive, and being able to see an example of that in yearbook, so that advisors know that in anything that you're going over with your students, you can really make a difference and really impact the way that they problem solve, the way that they're able to kind of do that conflict resolution, the way that they're kind of able to depersonalize, like you were saying, the yearbook and things like that. So I feel like it really shows me, but also I feel like this will show advisors, those lessons that you are teaching can and will make a difference in how they handle situations later on down in life as well. So yeah, I think that's really positive, and I appreciate you sharing that, Lucy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, so I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and kind of go into during that first week of school, right? So this is probably a very fun time, but also maybe a little hectic. I'm sure there are some big concepts. So, they're going to have their mission and vision statement, get that done. But what other big concepts will they need to really focus in on during that first week of school?
Well, here's the thing. We talked last week about the event coverage and the assignments that needed to happen and how to store and retrieve photographs. So all of that nitty-gritty stuff. And basics in photography, so that you can get usable photographs from that first week of school, or actually the first 2 weeks of school, if you want to be honest. But in the classroom, because you're having classes at the same time, that first week, depending on the school, you may have mini class, not a full-blown class, but certainly in the second week of school, you will have a full-blown class. So there are some big concepts that I think are right off the bat important. And one of them is digital citizenship. And I think that because the, and it is, it's becoming better than it was pre-pandemic. But the schools still need to find their way in this time of AI, especially as to what really it means to be a digital citizen, and how your digital footprint follows you for the rest of your life. It's not something that is going to go away. It's going to become far more complicated than it has been. And kids are going to have to wrestle with the very serious nature of some of their decisions that they make in a digital manner. And so being on the same page as the district, because all classes that utilize technology are the representatives of the district for their digigital citizenship or digital etiquette, digital, however the district wants to describe it. Those classes are the showcase classes for the district's ability to cross the threshold and make the that frontier less difficult and more simply more an ease of use. But that doesn't mean that there are not a lot of pitfalls, and there are. So making sure that first week of school you figure out, and at least in my opinion, you figure out exactly what you need to cover from a district point of view, from your school point of view, what it means to be a digital citizen in your district, how the kids are representing the school and the district, how they're representing themselves, the long-term impact of every decision that they make with every keystroke. That's a very big idea, and it's one that can be covered with humor, but it also can be covered with a lot of seriousness. There are articles aplenty that can be read ahead of time and then unpacked in a classroom in a Socratic seminar kind of way, so that people's voices are heard about the conundrums that occur. So that's a very important idea. Another very important idea is freedom of the press and freedom of speech. And those are the two freedoms that are embedded in the Constitution that directly affect the work of all student publications. And every district is different. And directly flowing from that would be the issue of censorship. And so those kinds of things need to be engaged with. And I would hope that advisors take that seriously enough, because there certainly have been, every year, there are multiple stories across the nation of yearbooks in trouble, school newspapers in trouble, students in trouble, court cases aplenty of just that topic. So making sure that everybody is on the same page would be important. So I'd like to present a resource that I think would be very important for teachers, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Lucy.
All right. So I'm going to do my entire screen, and oops, sorry. I am a little bit. Okay, there you go. So do you see this?
Yes.
All right. The Journalism Education Association, which, by the way, is celebrating their 100 years of assisting teachers in the teaching of journalism across the high school, middle school, high school, and university level, is an excellent resource. There are a lot of information across the top, especially for educators. But I have a couple of things I wanted to share with you. Here we go. This is from the Society of Professional Journalists, and it's a code of ethics in the idea of reporting and writing, and making sure that what journalists do is something that is honest and is filled with integrity. So this code of ethics is from the Society of Professional Journalists, and it is something that I used with my students, and something that our instructional guides provide in that first couple of weeks of school. And there are activities in our instructional guides that help you break this down for your students, because it's important for kids to seek truth and report it, to minimize harm in the reporting of a story, to act independently and not present a bias, and to be accountable and transparent in all of the sources that are used. So it's a very important idea, I think, that when you are approaching the freedom of press and freedom of speech, that you align yourself with your district and what's important to the district with regards to that, and how much leeway you have, wiggle room you have within their constraints. And then also the idea of exactly what those two freedoms mean with regards to the actual reporting, telling the story of a year with kids. So I would highly recommend the Journalism Education Association and any other organization like that. I think that that would be an excellent resource for advisors. By the
Yeah,
way,
thank you.
I like the blog that was recently put on the United Yearbook for advisors, the Two Freedoms. I think that that's a rich resource as well.
Yes, I can link that down below as well. We have a blog that just came out kind of in light of the 4th of July about freedoms of speech and press. So I can link that. Thanks for pointing that out, Lucy. And thank you for sharing that resource. I know you said that that's something that you can find in our instructional guide, as well as some activities, which I think it's wonderful to have the resource, right? Have it all in one place within our instructional guide, but also to be able to have activities on how you can kind of share that with your students, I think is like above and beyond and so helpful, because sometimes it's really easy to have all of this information, but maybe getting students to just read it won't be the same as having them do an activity and really retain the information. And also, as we've talked about before, students learn in different ways. So maybe for one student, reading it is going to be very helpful. And for another student, it's going to be doing that activity and really retaining that information in a different way. So I think the fact that we're able to offer that within the instructional guide will go a long way for those different types of learners, and also just really help the advisor out, right? Give them those options of how they want to showcase these resources. Would you be able to give an example of kind of like one of the activities that you would suggest for how to deal with this, the code of ethics?
Well, one of the ways that I broke down the code of ethics with my students, I gave them the code of ethics, and of course it has a lot of words on it. And I said, okay, this is a lot. So how can we make it really short, sweet, and to the point? And so in teams of 2 to 3, and the kids were assigned, it didn't matter if they were assigned the same thing, but all of the ideas were covered by the teams. They had to figure out a way to collapse everything into very short sentences so that it was easy for everybody. I mean, that's a lot of words, and words, they make our heads swim. But if we can figure out a way to make it really short, then we have a better chance of keeping it in our heads for a little while. And so once that was all done and we shared across the room and we put it up in front of us, then we collapsed them again, and we collapsed them again, and we collapsed them again, until we felt like we had just enough to help guide our work. And then we made a big poster out of it and put that up in the room, so that we were surrounded by the idea that we needed to have integrity in our work, be transparent, and be responsible, and be accountable, and all of those wonderful things.
I love that. Yeah. I love how you said words, they get so jumbled up, and being able to translate that from being something that's very lengthy, making it more concise, ultimately that's also going to make you retain the information a lot better too, But yeah, so it also kind of makes me think of how sometimes handwriting's a little bit better. And so like you retain it a little bit better. That's what it makes me think of. But that's a wonderful example. And just another way to highlight how wonderful our instructional guides and what they have to offer. And so I know that right now for advisors, it's kind of like the summer break, maybe their mind's more in relaxation mode. What would you suggest for those advisors to kind of start preparing for that first week of school, and how they can start preparing? What are things they can do right now to get ready?
Well, it's a myth that teachers are relaxing. They are, God love them. Teachers are wonderful human beings, and they never stop learning. They never stop learning. So teachers are studying their, and it doesn't feel like it to them. They are reading articles. They are talking with peers. They are looking at their classrooms. They are inventing new ideas. They're just open. People need to understand that about teachers. Teachers are open to ideas. They're not closed off individuals. They are open to ideas that will enrich the experience for both themselves and their students. And so with teachers in the summertime, I would say do what you're doing. Enjoy your time away from the classroom, but if you're compelled to be in the classroom, enjoy that time as well. And if you are reading ideas, write them down, get them logged in somehow, let that all cook in your mind. Let that all just kind of ferment and get that moving and cooking inside, because ultimately what will spring forth are new and enriching ideas. And when a teacher is up against a brand new class, and this is hopefully a teacher who has the summer to prepare. Not every teacher gets a summer to prepare, and maybe they only have 24 hours to prepare. So if it is the case that you only have 24 hours to prepare, my suggestion is that you look at the yearbook from your student's point of view, and you march along according to what the students see they need. And you do your best to accommodate what your students feel like they need in order to get that done. And you let them be the boss, okay? Because you're not going to be able to lead, but they can, because they actually know what they want in that yearbook, because it's for them.
Yeah.
And it's by them.
That's a really good point. I appreciate you pointing out that not everyone gets that summer, because that's so true. I also want to kind of add on to that and just say, you are not alone. If you're feeling lost, something was thrown upon you. I know there's some advisors where that's the case, where it was just thrown upon them. Whatever the case may be, you're not alone. There's a lot of wonderful groups out there with advisors that are, willing to help one another out. We also are here, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to remind advisors of community, because I think sometimes it's easy to feel like, oh, I'm the only one going through this in the moment, but having that sense of community and being able to ask those questions for people who have already kind of paved the way, in a sense, is really important. And also, many minds, are better than one, right? So you having that support and being able to kind of lean on one another is really important. So I also advise to kind of do that and reach out, and don't be afraid and feel like your problems are too small or whatever it may be. It's really important to have that sense of community.
And not to be afraid to bring the problem to the students. I can remember years and years ago, one of my jobs was to teach art in other teachers' classrooms, which was an interesting phenomenon. And for a sixth grade class, I decided that I was going to allow students to take the lead. I was going to explain the concept, the scientific concept of counterbalance, and then they were going to have to figure out ways in which to interact with counterbalance in an artful way. One teacher got very upset with me because I wasn't telling them step by step what to do, that I allowed that ambiguity, that very rich moment of lots of stuff happening at one time, so that multiple solutions would emerge. And I looked at her and I said, but that's the point of creativity. The point of creativity is that you have to step back and allow their minds to take over. And so when you have a problem with whatever it is in Yearbook, it's okay to bring it to the table and say, okay, kids, here's the problem. What are we going to do? And then get it going and start letting them own it, and start letting them come up with the solutions, because they will. Because kids are I know that it's tough in some schools, but by their basic natures, kids are good. They are good, and they don't want a failure to occur.
Yeah. And I think that's also promotes, like we were talking about before, just their voices to be heard. I think it'll also instill in them the knowledge that, their creativity and their say matters, right? Their opinion is valuable. So I think I really appreciate you pointing that out, because maybe some advisors haven't thought about that before. Like, oh yeah, maybe I should just go to the students for this. So I think that's a very important point to point out. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think this has been really helpful, and I think that a lot of advisors will. Hopefully this will relieve any stress that they may be feeling about that first week back. Do you have any final thoughts, comments about preparing for that first week of school?
Just enjoy it. Just have fun with it. It's going to be over before you know it. And then, the only documentation you will have would be whatever you've taken for the yearbook. So it's a fabulous 3-ring circus that just is great.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Lucy, for taking your time today. And we will be back again next week with another episode continuing our discussion on instructional guides. Once again, as always, if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. I'll leave those links that we talked about during the podcast down below as well. We're happy to have you here, and just have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.